It's actually happening, folks. It just got very real surrounding Vladimir Guerrero Jr. closing in on an extension to Toronto following what was a crazy day yesterday, including a report revealing that a deal is imminent. Multiple new reports have dropped today, revealing that an extension is not only imminent, but some crazy details surrounding the extension have been revealed. And one report from the man himself who interviewed Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has fans absolutely fired up. We're to break that down and discuss what it means going forward. But before we get into it, if you're a part of the 71% who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jays content. Your guys' support has been absolutely unbelievable, and thank you guys for your support as we approach our big goal of 17,000 subscribers. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a ton to go over today. Man, oh man, this has been a wild last 24 hours. Yesterday, we had the Mike Rodriguez report, of course, surrounding the Toronto Blue Jays closing in on a deal with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and then it was radio silence since then. However, a brand new report just dropped, multiple new reports. You have another one from Mike Rodriguez, but I want to start with the big piece of news here. And bear with me, I have a very bad cold, so my throat, I'm going to do my best here to get through it. But this just dropped moments ago. People close to the situation are telling me this. Vladdy and the Blue Jays have made a lot of progress towards a $500 million deal. Time frame, 14 years. The announcement could be done soon. Looks like Vlad Jr. is staying in Toronto long term. Now, if you're unfamiliar with José Pujols, 200,000 followers on Twitter. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the guy, the man himself that interviewed Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and got a bunch of those juicy comments surrounding him leaving the Jays, surrounding him joining the Yankees, all these different things. This is the guy, and this is an absolutely huge, huge report, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody now is doubling down on it, and there's some crazy stuff coming out here surrounding this. So, again, this guy has 200,000 followers on Twitter. He said that the Jays are closing in on a deal, all these different things, right? This is huge in itself. You then have Hector Gomez coming out at noon today saying, according to a person close to Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the Jays could make the announcement official as of this weekend. Now, again, whether you want to believe Hector Gomez or not, I'm going to leave that up to you. However, this one here is the most real that we've seen it, is the fact that the guy who interviewed Vladdy himself, I believe he's a Latin reporter, he came out and said that they are getting the deal done and that it's happening. There is like multiple reports here. And ladies and gentlemen, let me throw another one at you. John Heyman this morning, or late last night, dropped an article talking about how the Jays are still in deep talks with Vladdy for an extension, and he said it still appears the most likely result in the sluggish future is a long-term deal with Toronto, with Guerrero very close to a $500 million deal. The two sides remain in contact despite Guerrero's previous spring deadline, and the Blue Jays continue to be in need of finally making a big free agency signing. Note the last little bit there, after the comma in the first paragraph, with Guerrero reportedly very close to a $500 million deal. We now have John Heyman quoting the initial report from Mike Rodriguez that dropped yesterday. Now, this is very big news as well, because even before this came out, I was obviously going to discuss this. The fact that John Heyman came out and is quote tweeting the fact that Vladdy is very close to a $500 million deal is enough in itself to give some reassurance to the fact that the article is legit and the article is very real, right? Or the report, sorry. Because again, in case you missed it, last night, or yesterday during the day game, actually, Mike Rodriguez came out and said, according to my sources, Vladdy and Toronto are breaking news, are very close to a deal worth more than $500 million. And the fact that that's happening is crazy, obviously. $500 million is a certain number, but people are a little bit skeptical, especially because following the game yesterday, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. came out and said he's letting his agent handle it. As far as he knows, no extension is done. So they was like, okay, well, maybe Mike Rodriguez is wrong. And this afternoon, doubles down on it from Hector Gomez, saying, according to a person close to the situation, they can make the announcement official as recent or as soon as this weekend. Okay, that makes a little bit of sense. John Heyman comes out and says, okay, $500 million deal, which is pretty accurate, right? Like all these different reporters, and bear with me, apologies for the cold, but all these different reporters are coming out and saying the same things, right? When you have this many reporters correlating the same report, basically saying the Jays are closing on an extension, and then John Heyman coming out and saying not only are the Jays very close to a deal, but that they remain in contact. And whether you want to believe all these other reporters or not is up to you. The fact that he came out and said, John Heyman himself, that they're very close on a deal and that the two sides remain in contact, he would not say that they were very close on a deal unless they were very close on a deal, right? There's just no world where that happens. However, one very interesting note here is, again, the fact that the guy who interviewed Vladdy himself, José Pujols, right? This is the guy who made all those different comments surrounding Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and his future in Toronto. If you guys remember back that interview, we covered it after the deadline was gone. He sat down. It had fans fired up. It was about the Yankees. It was about all these different teams, about how, he said he's not going to rule out any of the 30 teams. That was that interview. But the fact that we're at a point now where these reports are all flowing, they're all coming out, is a very positive sign. And the fact, again, that Jon Heyman came out and kind of doubled down on this is huge information. Obviously, we know that. That's not a secret at this point. I mean, it was until earlier today. The big news here, ladies and gentlemen, is that the guy himself who interviewed Vladdy has come out and said that a deal will be done soon. Now, again, he does say could be done, so you want to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt, because at this point, there's not a ton of, us Jays fans, we've been led astray before, whether that's with Sasaki, Corbin Burns, all these different things, like Jon Heyman mentioned. So I'm not going to be fully bought in until it is 100% confirmed. However, this is about as close as we have been up until this point on a deal getting done, right? There's no doubt about it. You have Jon Heyman coming out, Hector Gomez coming out, and the man himself who interviewed Vladdy coming out. It's about as good as done. Now, very interesting point here that I want to bring up. This is from Mike Rodriguez, and this one is extremely interesting. Not only does he double down on the fact that a deal is almost done, he says, as I said yesterday, the deal is almost closed, and I hear there will be no deferred money. So this $500 million, absolutely no deferred money for the Toronto Blue Jays, which makes things extremely interesting now to see how it actually comes out. So let's say it's $14 million. Mike Rodriguez doesn't give a number for years, though Hector Gomez does at 14. Let's say it's 14 years at $500 million non-deferred. It is a pretty price to pay for Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who, by all accounts, is a fantastic player. He's obviously, I think his OPS went up by 40 points or something since since the video yesterday on it. But it's a very interesting point right now, because not only are the Jays in a very good spot, if they're able to lock him down, I think getting him locked down is going to be one of the most crucial things that they could do. $500 million is a pricey amount, and we know that Vladdy didn't want deferrals. That's another reason I think that this report is legit at this juncture. He didn't want deferrals. He didn't want any of that stuff, and clearly he's not going to take deferrals, which is why the Jays are closing in. Now, $500 million, after deferrals or with no deferrals, about $550 to $600 million, which is exactly what Hector Gomez came out and said the initial deal was going to be anyways, way back on March 17th, following his report there. So, I'm going to give Hector Gomez his flowers if this ends up being true. But the fact that, again, I keep repeating myself, but it's very true. The fact that all these reporters have come out and said the exact same thing not only makes things very interesting, but I think it makes things a lot more credible than many of us thought initially, because there's no world. We saw the Hector Gomez tweet. We're all very familiar with the Jays, the way the Jays are, run with the media. We saw the Hector Gomez tweet. We said, okay, here we go. We're doing it again, especially after the Mike Rodriguez tweet yesterday. But now to see all these people doubling down, either, all these guys' jobs are going to be fraudulent after this with all these different reports, or it's going to come to fruition. We're going to hear as soon as this weekend, which would hopefully be maybe before today's Mets game. Either way, we're going to keep you up to date with all the latest news. So let me know down below what your thoughts are on that. Things are getting very crazy as it pertains to this Vladimir Guerrero Jr. situation. And as the schedule looks ahead, we play the Mets today. I presume the lineup's going to be very similar to what we saw yesterday. Maybe get Nathan Lucas in there, Allen Road, and all these different things. We're going to keep you up to date with all the latest news, so make sure to hit the subscribe button. But ladies and gentlemen, hopefully next time we're speaking, the video later tonight, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. will be a Blue Jay for the next 14 years. That'll wrap it up. Let me know if you believe the reports or not. I think they're legit. Thank you guys for watching.